Welcome to this episode of YouTube where we're tracking the daily interactions of every pack member, and there's a lot of reasons. The first and foremost is that Aiden seems to have developed another lump at the incision site. It's been irritating a bit. He's been licking on it, and there's a little bit of dark spot that's concerning. It seems like it's the same kind of start of the mast cells that he's had removed in the past. The licking has kind of created a little bit of irritation, obviously, around the skin, so we're watching that on a daily basis to see how that progresses. Obviously, that's a huge issue for us. If Aiden does have to come out for surgical removal at this time, given the cooler temperatures, the problems that, again, the pack is kind of dealing with right now, as he's on the fringe of this pack as far as leadership and the rank order challenges that we have, it would be very risky to take him out for surgery and try to recover him back in the pack like we have done in the past when he was stronger and more confident and a leader. And we're seeing his confidence is coming back a bit, but it's still not there. It's Axel and Bolts that seem to be the issue. He has no issues with Denali. Even though Grayson sometimes joins Axel, but Aiden's very tolerant of Grayson. They're often sleeping together. As a matter of fact, a couple of days ago, when the pack was focused, or when Axel and Bolts were focused on Aiden, Grayson was right next to Aiden. Not defending, but definitely right within that social kind of space, and was not participating. And so we're definitely concerned about Aiden. There's no doubt. There's a question as to whether this next surgery is going to take care of the issue, or if there's a bigger issue going on. We want him comfortable. We certainly want him, to go into retirement not showing so much anxiety about being away from the pack. So that's a concern for us. He still seems to want to be mentally with this pack. So that's a daily issue for us to assess. How's he feeling? How's he interacting? Right now it's a pea-sized lump that we're kind of looking at and watching how that develops, and certainly are making every day kind of a opportunity to assess and to confer with the vet and see what's the best for him physically, what's the best for him psychologically, and what's the best, again, for him as far as recovery. He's not going to recover if he's stressed out in retirement, beating at the fence, trying to get back with the pack. So we've got to make all these decisions happen. They'll be easier if it's calmer. It'll be easier if it's cool, if it's warmer. So right now, we are still seeing some heightened hormonal response. Grayson, in the middle of all of this chaos, is very vocal. He howls. We know exactly when we come into wolf care and there's been a little bit of dishevel in the middle of the night. Grayson is right at the gate, howling to wolf care, letting them know. Axel seems to be the biggest instigator, but Denali is taking it, and Denali's actually, to some extent, intervening and stopping some things. And someone had commented where they saw Denali intervene on Aiden's behalf. We're not really certain if it's on Aiden's behalf or if Denali is saying, hey, if I'm going to run this back, I got to start to show some leadership. So there are some things going on. Grayson and Denali still have a little bit of a contentious relationship, although Grayson, again, he's just kind of anxious about Aiden not being in charge, and he's trying to figure out, who do I look to, who do I go to, because he is a more timid yearling about to be adult than Axel is. But just because there's a little bit of chaos doesn't mean that there isn't still social interactions. Denali and obviously Axel on the left here, Grayson on the right, resting together, sharing space, and that's a big part of it as well. We're watching Aiden share space with the pack, so there's still a social relationship, even though these hormones, especially for these younger animals, kind of just send them off into a direction that is a bit much to handle some days. But we've been through it before, and we know young animals, again, will settle down as they get into that adulthood. It's just a process of timing, of aging and testing and things. So we're definitely mindful of it, but we're also mindful that Aiden still has a very important role within this pack. There is still a psychological connection for Grayson and even Denali that Aiden is in charge. The other day, we didn't get it on film, but the Arctics were really kind of pushing bolts and really creating a noisy ruckus. And Aiden just went over and did a stiff leg jump towards them, and they quit. So he still has mental control over this pack. And what we learned in 2010 when we retired Shadow, who had the same kind of presence with the pack, just that energy that said, you know what, I'm still in charge even though I'm not physically interacting. And we took Shadow out. It was that following November that we had all the chaos with Denali and Grizzer and Maya and Aiden and all of that trauma that was experienced during that winter. I think was because we didn't see a clear leader before Shadow exited. So that's obviously on the back of our minds is first and foremost Aiden's health, but secondly the health of the pack and the leadership of the pack and where that's headed. So that's something that why we're watching every day, and we did, like I said, reposition the webcam to be able to get a front view of that window so we can check on surveillance, how Aiden's interacting, and how much time is he spending on it. You know, this wound, the focus doesn't seem that intense, meaning the licking, you know, I'm sure there's probably irritation, there's itching. That's kind of how the first mast cells progressed, and certainly something for us to keep an eye on. Bolts then is doing what we see and what we describe as obnoxious submission. Bolts had some dominance this winter, certainly started a lot of this on Aiden, but now just clearly does not want to be in a leadership position. So he is constantly trying to submit to Denali, looking for some leadership. Over in retirement, we've been busy with them. We have had Luna's birthday webinar. We had a few Guardian connections with Luna and Grizzer, so where we're in there talking to the Guardians and giving them an update of wolf activity. They are doing quite well. We are seeing some really good interactions. I've seen a lot of running around with each other, and I certainly am seeing a lot more sleeping in closer proximity to each other than we have. Luna's still a little sensitive on that back right leg, but we still kind of try to do body work on a regular basis. And because we didn't get Grizzer to howl on camera last time, we thought we'd share with you a rally howl that occurred during Luna's birthday webinar. Actually, I stimulated it as part of the birthday. I howled to the pack, and you're going to hear Luna and Grizzer howl in return. Have a good day. We'll see you next week. howling and then he came to the front door. That came in, and I think I really want to make sure